Good day, brothers and sisters, and we're back to the most popular show, Alex Sass Show on YouTube. Well, we also on other things like Rumble and all that stuff, Spotify and all those other podcast services that you use. Don't forget to click like and subscribe because that's the only way you get to see us because we clearly are shadow banned. And Glenn, what's up? How you doing today?
Oh, every day is a great day, and today is a beautiful day. Speaking the truth, no wonder we're shadow banned because the government doesn't want you to know the truth. Definitely not.
They don't want you to know anything except what drives their cause. What do you know about Germans?
Very industrious group of people. They're highly good at engineering. They engineer everything. And that's also because they believe that they're better. So when you believe, it materializes because thoughts become things.
Yes, and they are very disciplined as well, aren't they?
Oh, very disciplined. Yeah, a good group of people.
So they are good Germans.
There's a lot of good Germans. There's a couple of bad ones. We seem to have the bad ones over here in North America now.
Well, that's, what's that? Project Paperclip, right? Then they brought all the bad ones from World War II times. Never mind. The German-related story that we have for you guys today, it's a local story, Montreal. What do you guys know about, what's her name? Christine Anderson. Yes, Christine Anderson. She is the European Parliament member from Germany. And she's from which party?
It's a right-leaning party.
It's a right-leaning party, but the one who protested Trudeau, remember a year ago when he came in, trying to speak some democratic stuff. Just like, what democracy are you talking about? So she actually came to Montreal and she wanted to debate Trudeau. And here's her speech. Okay, let's just watch this.
But I would like to address a few words to Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister of this beautiful country.
J'aimerais m'adresser à Monsieur Trudeau, le Premier ministre de ce pays.
Mr. Trudeau,
Monsieur Trudeau,
I have had the pleasure and the honor of being allowed to travel your country.
j'ai eu,
You have a beautiful country,
vous avez un,
but the people,
mais les gens,
your people, your citizens,
vos citoyens,
I got to meet
je les ai rencontrés.
are even more
Ils sont
beautiful.
encore.
I think she could take him.
That was traveling
She looks strong.
your country
Et alors que je voyageais,
No, he looks weak.
and got to speak to your people.
et que
The people came up to me in tears
les gens sont venus en pleurs
and they were thanking me
et ils me remerciaient
for validating them.
pour les valider.
Validation.
Validation.
That's the most. The thing
Is she
that
talking
was
about the
most
fringe minority?
mentioned to me.
C'est la chose qui était le plus souvent mentionnée.
Talking about grassroots Canadians. That's the majority.
I'm not
Merci pour leur validation.
Is the French translation they had to do it by law or is it?
been denied. their
No, it's just for the other group
Okay.
of people, the other French-speaking people.
among psychiatric experts.
Auprès des experts psychiatres.
Experts
These
again.
are people
Ce sont des gens
that have been victims
qui ont été
of
victimes
gaslighting.
de gaslighting. De faire nier leur réalité.
So basically, she's saying Trudeau. What is she saying?
Well, she's pointing the finger at Trudeau, saying you caused a lot more problems than you were supposed to be correcting. You're just following an agenda that's been told to you, and Canadians stood up for their rights, and you got exposed, brother.
Well, Canada, I think Biden too, both Trudeau and Biden were running as, well, Prime Minister and the President, respectively. They were both running on the platform of uniting people. I'm here to unite, black, white, left, right. Both countries haven't been divided more than ever before. Like, left versus right, woman versus man, transgender versus the rest.
The divided states of America and China. Yeah, that sounds unification to me.
Well, let's get straight to the China story and divided states of America.
China blasts U.S. for pushing endless war in Ukraine as Janet Yellen visits Kiev. Janet Yellen, you're the Treasury Secretary of the United States of America. What are you doing in Kiev. What are you doing in like pushing the war? What, you're just going to give away more American money and cause more inflation to the American people? Americans don't care about Ukraine. Most of them don't know where it is on the map. And for you people who do know, newsflash, Ukraine's done. Okay, that's part of Russia. That's it. That's all. The world seems to be looking at a way for to a peaceful resolve to this problem, but it seems like the countries in the West and Europe, they're opposing this, so that more people have to die, and we can send more money over there to be laundered and sent back to the people over here who are extorting money from its citizens in the form of taxes and enriching their own pockets.
Well, you answered your own question. What's she doing there? If she's a secretary of she's a treasury, right? So she's doing this. She wants to oversee her laundering operation.
And her job before being treasury secretary was she was running the Central Bank of America.
Well,
That's the money creator. So obviously, you know, you put the dots together and it gives you a very horrible looking picture of what's going on.
well, in China, just all over the news today, and actually the last few weeks, last few months, for some reason you see this shift. It's no longer a Russian bot. It's no longer Russian interference. They're shifting, attention back to China. Why thing is that? I mean, my theory is that, the Russia is no longer this faceless enemy that people want to face. I don't know if it's of course it's not a faceless enemy. It's the whole purpose. That was the boogeyman that that's the cause of all evil. But now they're realizing, well, we can't really deal with Russia. Russia got nukes, and Russia resisted sort of with Ukraine, and they achieved some success, even though the TV will tell you Russia's losing and all this other stuff. I mean, people are losing. Both Ukrainian people, Russian people, Canadian people, American people, and people of the world are losing every time there's a global conflict like a war over resources, money laundering for the bankers and stuff like this. So people definitely losing in this case scenario. Is China, Glenn, a new target? Is that why they're shifting to China again? Is it something more doable in terms of like shifting attention? This is a new boogeyman?
I don't know about boogeymans, but we've been watching for the last 2 years about fake election results in America. And this has been going on for a long time. It's just now coming to a head, and people are starting to see it and recognize it. And they're starting to question a lot of things, especially what the mainstream is telling them. They seem to be pushing back against mainstream. And now it's permeated into Canada. Our border is here now. We're starting to realize that, it looks like our elections have been fixed, rigged. We have controlled oppositions on both sides to make it look like we have a democracy. But I beg to differ. Things are starting to look really engineered by the non-government organizations, the NGOs, that are running our so-called elected officials.
And when Justin is prepared, right? When he's acting and not improvising, right? That's when he doesn't stutter. So let's watch this clip.
For the 2019 election, we created a high-level panel on election interference comprised of Canada's top public servants who are independent and professional.
No, you didn't.
Dedicated to this country. And they work closely with all of our national security experts, officials, and agencies to monitor day by day what was going on during the 2019 and 2021 elections. The independence, the professionalism.
Did you see that?
Rigor.
That what instead of he did a sniffle. Is this COVID? Is he having a COVID? Well, how come he's not wearing a mask? How come he's not protecting this lady in the glasses behind him?
You know, big man, you can always tell when he's lying. I mean, he lies all the time, but he practices his lies. Okay, so Mr. Justin Trudeau, Lido, he's unbelievable. What a ham actor.
Yeah, well, let's just listen a little bit longer. What else is there?
With which they looked at. It is something that Canadians can take tremendous reassurance in the fact that it was found that our election integrity held absolutely. in 2019 and 2021.
Of course he's going to say
And
that because he
further
got
to that,
elected.
An independent report analyzing the work they did in the 2021 election was just released, laying out all the things that worked.
Okay.
Why would he have opposed a public inquiry into this? How come he doesn't want the population to know the truth?
Well, especially if he's innocent, right?
You know, he's like the Teflon Don, this guy. He gets away with everything. Let's go, Canada. Let's wake up. Let's unify and say, no, you're out. Next. But be wary of who's going to be next. You have controlled opposition everywhere. We have to make these people accountable. They work for us. Canada is supposed to be a sovereign country. No more foreign interference in our elections, and our elections are supposed to be transparent so we see who we really elected and what we really want as a unified Canadian people.
So if the election was so uncompromised, how come we have evidence like this? Trudeau Foundation, for example. Trudeau Foundation to return 200,000 donation over possible connection to China.
If you're not guilty, why would you have to return the $200,000 donation? And by the way, $200,000 for this foundation, that's like chump change. That's nickel and dime stuff.
It's maybe just only maybe that's the only donation they got caught with or something. I don't know. It's probably not enough. $200,000 is not enough to. Because what was his net worth that went up? It went up. His net worth went up from like what, $5 million to something like $300 million in like.
Well, his net worth went up while the average Canadian's net worth is going to be dropping like a stone. Okay, and our net worth is measured in fiat currency. Fiat currency, it's a paper. It's supposed to go like this, but ours is going to be dropping like this. It's happening in other countries in the world. The Turkish lira is dropping. The European Union has got the highest inflation rate ever measured.
You know who else returned money? Or, I don't know. Did you see that? Montreal University says no indication donation by Chinese billionaire was a suspect.
Why would a Chinese billionaire give money in Canada for? What's the purpose?
Buying citizenship.
Oh, okay. But, just to let Canadians know, last year was a record year. 2022 was a record year. $100 billion of trade. That we gave China $100 billion of our devalued currency, and they gave us their products that don't last too long. They're not that high quality, but that's what Canadians want. But it's funny, this is going on, and last year was the record money that we sent over to China.
Why don't we produce anything here anymore? What's the story with that? Like, why do we have to send everything out? Why can't we produce here?
That was engineered a long time ago. You know, after the Second World War, United States of America, by example, they created 85% of all products that were sold in the world. And then with this globalism, they transferred all good-paying jobs to China. And we gave them fiat currency dollars, and they gave us the products. But now, America, supposedly the richest country in the world, is a country with the most debt in the world. So how could you be the richest but also have the most debt, which they could never pay back, by the way? Neither can Canada. It's a bankrupt entity.
Do you think Trudeau is actually going to get away with this scandal? You know, the scandals that we covered in the last episodes. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, is that something possible?
If you watch the media, it's a high probability. But if you watch our show, it's going to be a very low probability.
Okay, let's watch the official statement. What do they say in the Senate?
That this review is ongoing as I speak to determine whether there's any tangible evidence of wrongdoing under the Canada Elections Act. This work is being conducted impartially and independently from the government of the day, the public service, and even the chief electoral officer.
So she's talking about the Senate committing to investigating Trudeau and his.
They should pay you and I to investigate. They get a real answer.
Under our act. They will not permit me to draw conclusions about the validity of election results overall or in a particular riding. For reasons of confidentiality, I will not be able to provide further details regarding the ongoing review, complaint, or any
Be very, very quiet.
other information received by my office.
It doesn't sound too inspiring, does it? Even the way she's like, she's almost half that writtenness. Like, why am I even here?
Plus, they're reading off a sheet. Like it's all controlled. She's just reading the part that she has to play in this whole horrible movie that's unfolding in front of our eyes.
Well, the talking heads, exactly. Like, how do you know? You don't know. As a matter of fact, I believe all of this stuff is a theater. And that's why Trudeau is actually in charge of that theater, because he is a drama teacher, just like you said before. What about this story, TikTok? I mean, we covered it last time. And what does TikTok know about you? What should you know about it? And I guess that's coming from CBC. How can we trust this source? But let's say this is what they say. The biggest argument in the article is that TikTok gathers from you is most important to them is the GPS data. But it's probably not the only thing they gather. They gather absolutely everything. You know, they probably gather all the information. Not probably. They definitely gather all of the information from your phone.
They know where you are, where you've been, what you've bought, what you talk about, what you eat, where you go, how you drive. They know everything. And Canadians or North Americans are well aware that China has been spying on their citizens for years. I mean, they basically don't have any freedom left. But it's something bizarre when TikTok is a Chinese-owned company and they're spying on what Canadians are doing.
Well, it's also a content, right? So every time you watch content on social media, you either search for it or it's fed to you based on your interest, likes, your previous searches, your comments, your follows, whatever. They actually know your thought process. They actually know what you think. They know your conscious choices or unconscious ones. And that's what's scary. Like, they actually know where you are physically, mentally, and emotionally. They collected all the data, and how that matrix is then translated into and what's done with this data, and how you manipulate it via your legacy sources like CBC. Who knows? But
well, since they know all that, then they also must know our next thing we're going to be talking about is Canada's economy didn't grow at all last quarter and shrank in December. New gross domestic product numbers show the GDP is the economical, financial performance of a country. And we're not doing that well. We've been set up for a big fall here. They had to raise the interest rates to try and slow down the inflation. And it's going to be a little bit difficult because China is coming back online now, and they're going to have a big demand for oil. So the price of supply and demand, the price of oil is going to start increasing, which is going to affect our interest rate here. They're going to have to try and raise it some more to try and slow down the inflation. But every time they raise it, they're killing investment here. So Canada is really in a bind. You're going to see real estate prices take a big hit. And a lot of people are going to be declaring bankruptcy. Corporations will be declaring bankruptcy. Oh, we've been set up. Trudeau, you've done a real good job here in 7.5 years.
Oh, who's going to be picking up the investments? Like, somebody's going to buy up that real estate and the business. By the way, I'm walking around Montreal yesterday, downtown core, but real downtown, blocks around Place des Arts, both directions. No, all 4 directions. And I'm walking around with Val, and Val's like, the stores are empty. Every other storefront is empty for rent. Saint Denis, Saint Catherine, Saint Laurent, like the main streets. There's nobody there. But there are bike paths. We have bike paths.
It was an amazing French accent you had there going there. It was pretty good the way you were naming those streets, brother.
Did I say that? So do you say Saint Lawrence or Saint Laurent?
Saint Laurent.
Oh, that makes you racist. But no, the idea is it's visible now. I think also one of the reasons for pandemic was to shift people's movements. Instead of going to the shopping to physical locations, get them to shop online. So also like streamline and get them to Amazon grew, right? Things like Amazon grew, and all the your local mom and shop stars, they went bankrupt and closed. That was also one of the reasons.
But even the big corporations are starting to lay off because there's a big slowdown, and it's going to become more and more apparent.
Although oil demand set to climb as China's economy finally rebounds, as we can see in this next article.
That's going to be very good for Western Canada. It doesn't make sense where Canada has so much oil, but it's labeled dirty oil, yet to be able to extract this oil, they do they jump through hoops and protections and conservative and this and that to bring the commodity to market. But we're not allowed to bring, or we're prevented from bringing the amount of commodity that we can to market and really benefiting. In Canada here, we don't tap our oil sources enough. Yet in Venezuela, we import so much oil from Venezuela, and that's worse than the way we get our oil. It's real. It's dirty oil.
China's economy rebounding. Why is that? Is that because they stopped doing all that pandemic crap?
Yeah, and that didn't work, right? The lockdowns, look, as soon as they started, we're better now. Yeah, it opens up. It just goes. Herd immunity was always, it wasn't wearing masks. It wasn't taking spikes. It wasn't distancing. It wasn't lockdown and curfews. That was just a form of controlling your populace, put them in perpetual states of fear. And as you see in many places in the world, it worked, including here, especially. It only works when your men have been emasculated and they're being controlled by emotion rather than logic. If the men were being run more by their logic, you would get like a sixth sense that something was not right. Okay, so they would start looking, and then they would start opposing what was being shoved down our throats.
So it went away. It went away for the reasons that it just couldn't. Was it always supposed to be a temporary thing, or you think they really tried with that pandemic to like put an end to human populace or human freedom or whatever? Or was it just a trial run, or maybe there was just a first step in many different phases? Like next will be the climate change lockdowns or 15-minute cities and whatever things they learned from pandemic they're going to implement now in the different strategies.
Right now, I think the people are very skeptical of what the government is saying and what they're hearing on the media, the prostitutes in the media.
So they'll overplay their hand?
Yeah, people have had enough. And they're going to really have enough more when they feel it hard, like the economy starts contracting, and then maybe they might declare a bankruptcy, or they won't be able to pay their house, or they won't be able to. They're spending all their disposable income on just trying to keep their house, and they won't be going to restaurants and cafes, and a little bit less money for vacations, which is going to affect a consumer economy in general. But certain places in Canada, other places in Canada, like out west, Canada's oil and gas industry expects upstream investment to surge this year. Well, of course, the world needs energies. So the truth is materializing. It's coming to the surface. And the investment companies are ready to capitalize on that. And that would be better for Canadians. Okay, let's use our own energies. We've been gifted. We're very fortunate to be here.
And as a result, is the oil coming from Alberta, is that the result for projected $2.4 billion surplus for 2023-24 in pre-election budget?
Well, you have a conservative leader over there, Danielle Smith, and she just came in, and it looks like things are going to be turning around under her watch very quickly. There's going to be a big investment in the oil industry, and they're projected to have a $2.4 billion surplus in 2023, 2024, which she's going to give a large portion of that back to the people of Alberta. So you have places...
she's going to give some of that to people of Quebec too.
Yeah, indirectly. She has to give Canada first, and then Canada pays Quebec for all its social programs.
What does Quebec... what's contribution? What is the contribution of Quebec to Canada? Hydro-Quebec?
It's just more for Quebec. That's a provincial institution. But what Quebec gives back to Canada is just staying in Confederation or else.
That's a good way to run the politics, yes.
So you have a right-leaning province, a conservative province, I don't know, right or left, but you have a smart-running province. They're going to have a budget surplus. Then you have the province right next to it, British Columbia, which is, they call a left-leaning province. Let's throw money everywhere. And they're going to have a $4.2 billion deficit. As things, that's what they project. This is right now. What about when things get worse? So they're going to be looking for money from Canada, which Quebec really doesn't give too much to Canada. And here in Quebec, with everything going on, what's most important here in Quebec?
That's what Quebec contributes to socioeconomic structure.
This is what they're focusing on here, knowing what horrible stuff is coming down the pipeline, or I would say the train line, because they don't allow pipelines to go through Quebec. But the Quebec government finds 74% of businesses make language errors on public signage. We're actually paying taxes here to have the language police go around and bug businesses about something so stupid as a little bit of signage, just when they're trying to hang on after this scamdemic, where Quebec was very forthright in locking everybody down, and you're not allowed here, and restaurants can't be open, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. Slowly squeezing the lifeblood out of whatever's left in the province.
But it's crazy. We do, the Quebec populace is always talking about contributing to Ukrainian democracy. Meanwhile, down here we have language police. That's the most democratic institution we have in Canada. Language police. This is so people have to make sure they know how to write in French, and not just write, but write the public signage, because that's to preserve culture, right? What's next?
What's our next thing is the banks know that hell is coming because the central banks created it. So the next thing is interest rates have skyrocketed. So why hasn't the rate on your savings account? So the money you lend the bank to lend out 10 times through fractional reserve lending, they're not giving you anything for your money because they're building up a cushion for the next big fall. They know that they're going to be taking back bad car loans, negative equity in real estate. And even that, I don't know if it's going to be enough. What I know is after 2008, you had bailouts, governments printing money to bail out the big ones. And the people, they rebelled against that. I don't think that's going to happen this time. But what could happen this time is something called bail-ins, where if you have money in the bank and the bank is facing insolvency called bankruptcy, that's where the word come from, then they will only allow you to take a little bit of your money out at a time, just for basic sustenance. And that's just for them to hold on to get over this big bump that's going to be coming our way. And we're heading directly for it. There's no way out. I mean, we're still going to have inflation, and they can't raise the interest rates anymore because the economy is already collapsing. So that's the worst scenario. It's called stagflation. a stagnating economy with persistent inflation, talking about whittling away whatever wealth the middle class has. Inflation is like a hidden tax on the middle class. And the strength of your middle class is the strength of the whole country, the economic strength of a country. And so when you have 1% of the population having equal or more wealth to the other 99% of the population, fireworks are going to happen.
Do you believe it's controlled demolition of the Western culture, economy, the way of life, which was actually built and flourished through middle class? Is that why, like, is it one sure tool? If you destroy middle class and you really divide the populace into poor and super rich, obviously the proportions we understand, what is it, top 3% super rich and the rest is just serfs, right?
It started 50 years ago when you started outshoring all the jobs to China for what we were talking about before, for manufacturing the products. That's when it started. And it progressively got worse, and we got more and more into debt, and it's getting worse and worse. But the big show keeps going on. So people are distracted from the truth, or they're dissuaded from learning the truth. They can't be bothered because it's a very simple when you start looking for it, but they're confused. When you try and keep up with the media and what the government is doing, it's purposely done confusing. So the people just lose, they give up. I'm out.
And I think, do you think it's the distraction and people losing track of what actually really matters, and they sort of like become zombies in a way, and they start doing crazy things like, or we just hear more about it because of the social media and just media in general, but you find more and more cases of, like, child abuse and sexual predators. Well, I think it's still going back to no discipline, no men in the family, no values, no culture, none of that stuff. And then you find more and more stories like this one.
A misguided society. Here you have a young guy, 31 years old, from Toronto. He's facing 96 charges linked to child sex assaults from 7 to 17 years old.
What is that?
He's trying to make himself look younger so he fits in with the kids.
How old is he? Does it say here?
31 years old.
Oh, that's terrible. I don't even want to listen to a press conference. Forget it. That's disgusting and sick. Glenn, where do you find those stories? That's a story found by Glenn.
Well, what's going on in the world, the violence and this is going to get worse. So we're going to have to take a lot of matters into our own hands to try and prevent this. If you notice, it says that, or in the next one here, a violent man wanted after woman sexually assaulted at the Toronto Transit Committee's Kipling Station. What is this with all this physical, this sexual stuff against people who can't defend themselves? All the bullies come out when the times get rough. Well, you know what? It's time for modern day superheroes to come out. And what I don't like is, there, if you see his face, well, at least he looks like a happy nutcase.
At least he's smiling, right?
Oh, he's so like, really, guy? You're going after girls? That's your purpose of your life? That's what your goal? Now, real, and they call it men, like Toronto man and violent man. Well, a real man wouldn't do something like that. First of all, if a real man caught the guy with the woman there, is smiling like that, he'd slap him so hard he'd knock the smile right off. And I'm sure a couple of tattoos would go flying off his face too. Okay? But I would change the word when Toronto man and violent man. Why don't you just change the word to a Toronto idiot and a violent idiot? Because a man wouldn't do those things, but an idiot would.
Well, why people are such idiots nowadays? That's because they don't really have healthy routines anymore. They don't have disciplines. They don't have, a lot of them grow up fatherless, right? And it's like 90% of all men in jails or the ones that commit crimes come from the single home families, and not father-kid single home, but it's the ones that fatherless. So it's the chances are the kid's going to end up in a situation like this are much higher if they come from the single parent family where the mom is the parent, right? And that's why the family is still the cornerstone of all the societies. And this family is being destroyed right now, and it's being destroyed by modern progressive lifestyle of women specifically. And obviously, there's no man. And like you said, the modern woman wants a traditional man, but traditional man does not want modern woman. So both of them don't sink in.
They've done very well at breaking up the families, and now the sexes are fighting each other, which is ridiculous. As a man, you focus on being a man, okay? And when you're good at being a man, then you become a better provider and a protector for your family, and you minimize all this sickness going on. One of the ways to become a better man is to exercise and stay in shape. That seems to stave off inflation, and now the experts, and I use that word, because we've heard a lot about experts when it comes to our health and everything. But the experts say that exercise should be your number one choice in creating depression. First of all, we hear about depression all the time in the media. So it's in our face, it's in our ears. We hear people tell, oh, I'm depressed, I'm this and that. What you focus on persists. So instead of focusing on what's bothering you, you should focus on where you want to be and where you want to go. Okay? So when you go to the gym, for example, or you do a bunch of exercise, you start feeling better about yourself. Your depression levels go down. Then the will to want to eat better instead of eating crap all the time, which is also contributing to your depression levels. Well, that minimizes, and then you start focusing on everything that you should be doing instead of focusing on what you shouldn't be doing. It's very simple, but they make it all cloudy and hard for people to find their way, because there's so much money to be made in treating mental and physical illness.
They don't want healed people. They want patients.
Patients.
Yeah.
More patients, and yeah.
Yeah, because they go that you can't make money off a healthy person. Like the devil does not come for the saints. He comes for the sinners. No, the other way around. Or is it how it goes? No, he got the sinners already. Devil comes for the saints.
No, I think he left quite a few down. He better come and get some more sinners. Help us out. But evidence is mounting. And we always knew that vitamin D may be key to preventing dementia. Okay? But they're looking for a key, as though it's going to be one key, one thing is going to switch and you're going to be better. It's a combination. It's called your lifestyle. And we're being told that nothing is our fault. It's always somebody else's or something else's fault. No, it is your fault. You have to take care of yourself. You have to be the best that you can be, number one. And that's going to be better for everybody in your surroundings. So you tend to, exercise, take care of the body. And for some reason, a sound body makes a sound mind. And then you have better judgments. And then people like being around you more because you're exhibiting leadership qualities. That's what's highly lacking today.
That's really good advice. Is that advice for us to stay on top of everything that's going on, not only in your personal life, but in the world around you? You'll be able to be more aware and more in control of the world that's happening around you if you're more in control of the things that you can control, like your mood, and the way and Glenn just explained to you what you can do with your depression levels when you work out, when you eat well, when you think well. So you have to practice that. That's an exercise. You have to change your exercise routine, not only for your physical body, but for your brain, for your mentality, for your spiritual sense. Meditate, eat correctly, whatever you have to do. Go to church, pray. You got to have those routines, and you have to practice them. If you practice the other things that they tell you, like fear, put on your mask or you'll die, or go get a jab or you'll die. Go do this or you'll die. If you continue, if you go be afraid of Russian, go be afraid of Chinese, whatever it is, whatever fear that you ingest, that's the thing that you're going to be living with. So on this note, Glenn, I want to finish the show. That was really good. Thank you for your energy today. You are on point as always. And brothers and sisters, stay in the light, stay strong, go to the gym, or maybe do some martial arts, do some push-ups, go running, do something physical. Raise your testosterone if you're a man. If you're a woman, raise something as well. We love you all, and see you in the next one. Glenn, last words?
The answers, the truth has always been, it is now, and it'll always will be. It's very simple. You just follow what the big man just said, and your life is going to change around drastically. I mean, it's going to be amazing. And now you're going to have more of a purpose in life. You're actually going to live, not just exist.
Be well, brothers and sisters.